Let's bring this down a bit. All right, we're in here. Let's give a couple of people a few minutes to get in and welcome in as we get going for a live stream. Appreciate you subscribing and coming in. After a good day today, a really good day today with the live stream on radio, we do it again tonight. And we jump in. We've been doing it every Tuesday, which is great, but picked up a lot of subscribers this week and a lot of people jumped in because we were doing it during the day, which we're excited about that. Looking at some Super Bowl numbers. We're going to get into the quarterbacks, the results of the AFC and the NFC championship game. Get in the chat if you can. Subscribe, but get in the chat and let us know you're there. Let me say hello to everyone out there, if you can do that. All right. We'll do that to start off. Excuse me if you hear my dog in the background. The whole family just got home from work and appointments and everything else. So could hear a dog bark, or you could hear a doorbell coming up here in the first few minutes until my wife bribes my dog with something. 9-year-old, great dog, healthy dog, fast dog, energetic dog. I'll leave it at that. I don't think you should be putting your pets much on the internet or live streams, but I got a great dog, and he's in the background hanging out and unbelievably quiet most of the time on radio, but the live stream's a little bit different. All right. First thing I see is let's go 49ers. That is not a good thing. But I think by the end of this live stream, you'll see I'm not going to root for anybody in this game. There's no rooting. There's no standing up and pumping my fist first down in a game like this. But I will be pulling for the Niners over the Chiefs for obvious reasons, including the Raider helmet behind me right there. All right. That's funny. There it is. There it is. There you go. So, no, there's going to be no 49er love on this stream or any of the podcast. There's going to be zero Chiefs love, but both teams are good and they're well-deserved. And it's good that they're there because it's going to make for a great Super Bowl. I wish there were 8. I'm dead serious. I wish there were 9 or 10 or 11 other teams in the Super Bowl than the Niners and the Chiefs. But as Tom Berenger said in the movie Platoon, I have to take the pain. And we here in Vegas, we got to live with this. And I think I've been telling you on this platform and others for a month or even longer, this could happen. It felt like the gods were aligned to give us this again, which I don't think the game is what everybody wanted, but the game is going to be massive, massive from a gaming perspective and the handle here in Vegas and the television ratings because of Vegas. You see, I'm giving Vegas a lot of credit here, because we've been waiting for this not long. We haven't waited 50 years for the Super Bowl in Vegas. We just got the Raiders and we got the Super Bowl. Incredible job by Mark Davis and his current team, his former team that brought the team here, the people involved that they pulled this off. We haven't pulled off the event yet, but we're going to pull it off every 4 to 5 years for the rest of your lives. But this is the first test run, and I'm not a weather report, but it's a little bit wintry out here if you're coming out here. We've had some good weather the last 2 days. It got into the 70s. It was 72 today. Who doesn't like 72 degrees with no clouds, no precipitation at all? It was beautiful. But we're going to get a couple of rainstorms, I think, Sunday, Monday into Tuesday. And then hopefully by midweek in Vegas, the weather will be okay. The weather will be okay. And we'll have a good Super Bowl because I think weather matters. I go skiing with my friends for March Madness, or I go 4th of July, I go back to Long Island or New York. I just came back from Florida to visit my parents. It rained. Weather matters. Weather matters when you go to super events like a Super Bowl, a World Series. You want the weather to be great. Golf, you go to a golf tournament or a major, you don't want to be sitting there with an umbrella and freezing rain. You want the weather to be great. But here in Vegas, we have a winter too, everybody. And you are right smack in the middle of our winter. It is winter. And hopefully it's going to be nice. Down in Fort Lauderdale, 203 says 72 down here. Yeah, that's good. I wish it was like that when I was in Florida 2 weeks ago. It was raining, cold, misty, and foggy in Fort Myers, Naples. But I still had a great time with my parents. Wet snow in Detroit from Benny Jett. I want to just take a word before I do my intro here to thank Benny Jett, who does a big Facebook Live. Benny and the Jets on Facebook is big. This gentleman goes out and gets coffee at night and streams his coffee show, and he does his rock and roll, and he does his 10 o'clock rock. Everything he does has a big community of people. And I join in all the time. And Benny's a rock star in Detroit, friends with Bob Seger, Ted Nugent. I'm not going to say Eminem, but he knows Eminem. He probably is friends, Benny. Let me know if you know Eminem and a couple other people there. But Kid Rock, Bob Seger, anyone who's ever played music at the highest level in Detroit, Michigan, along with Over the Bridge to Canada, in London, all over, knows Benny and the Jets. And Benny Jett is a great friend of mine. And he kind of got me into this. We had a good conversation about this. And what he does on Facebook Live, I'm doing on YouTube and a little bit of Facebook there. And some people that have been following, look at this. I've been following Benny Jett for 10 years. He's my first caller or original caller 27 years ago on Sports Fan Radio Network. All right. We're brought to you by Modelo. I'm like a kid when I say that. I'm so proud. We are brought to you by Modelo. John, come on in there. Let's do this again so we can sell it to our Modelo fans. Modelo, the #1 beer in America. How does that sound heading into the Super Bowl? Let's crack a Modelo. They are a proud partner of our YouTube live stream. Modelo, the fighting spirit. Thanks to Modelo as we get rolling here. Okay. I'm going to start off first with Lamar Jackson. Wasn't a choke job. It was close to the worst game he's ever played in the playoffs, including playing at an MVP level all year. So that magnifies how bad he played. If he played like Joe Flacco, who came off his couch and got beat in the championship game and didn't play well, I'd have no problem with that. If he played at the Baker Mayfield was a cast out a few years ago. Lamar's going to be a 2-time MVP. Lamar needed to play like Lamar. Better than Mahomes. That's hard to do. At a Brady level, Peyton Manning level, he's got that talent. Lamar's a very good player, and he mostly has big games. That's why he's going to have 2 MVPs. But in the biggest game of his life at home, where the Ravens hadn't played in a championship game since 1971 against the Oakland Raiders, Lamar didn't show up. He didn't. There's a lot of problems I have with his performance going forward, and I want to address a few of them. First off, John Harbaugh helped campaign for him like a political campaign all year long. Every time Lamar played well, Lamar won the MVP. Lamar's the best player in the league. Lamar was magnificent today. He's the best. That was John Harbaugh campaigning for a quarterback who a year ago was disgruntled because he didn't get a contract extension. And other guys like Deshaun Watson were getting paid. Mahomes got a massive extension. And Lamar was waiting to do a contract by himself without an agent. And he wanted to do that. It wasn't working out. He finally got paid, I believe, because John Harbaugh went to Steve Bisciotti, the owner, and said, look, this is our franchise, and he's great. And you know who was right? John Harbaugh. Because they paid Lamar, and he got the MVP. He's going to get the MVP award this year. What more could he have done? He had Lamar ready. He had Lamar confident. He had Lamar in a situation where the stage was set. Lamar was not injured. Lamar was rested. He had a bye week before the bye week. Everything was set for Lamar. The train cars were loaded. The engine was roaring. It was going downhill right to Vegas for the Super Bowl. All he had to do was manage the game and not screw it up. And he did. Now, Zay Flowers, with him coughing the ball up, some of the mental mistakes they made with taunting to Travis Kelce. Lamar threw that interception into triple coverage in the fourth quarter. They were down 17-7, and they could never come back. So let it be said about Lamar Jackson. Let this be said. He's a great elite quarterback. He goes in any category of eliteness, currently in the top 5, maybe top 3. He's the MVP. Come on. Still young, beginning of his prime. But you can now officially say there's a problem with Lamar Jackson in the big game. If you get the lead on Lamar, which means a coach like Andy Reid, come out and chase the first quarter, go up, score on that first drive. You always want to score, but be really aggressive. Put Lamar down in the scoring sheet and Lamar would have to fight back. And I don't think he plays as well under pressure when he's past predictable and he can't run. So really disappointed in that performance. Odell Beckham's not happy. Odell Beckham's dad is freaking out that his quarterback didn't get him the ball enough. The Ravens gave up on the running game. The Ravens didn't even attempt to run the football. That was embarrassing. You know whose fault that is? Well, Patrick Mahomes, because when they took the lead early in that game, Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo did exactly what they wanted to do. They sent a message to the other sideline. The other sideline, they sent a message to and said, you're going to be trailing the whole game. You're going to have to give up on the number one rushing attack in all of football. That didn't mean Baltimore and John Harbaugh had to do that, but they played right into the trap of Steve Spagnuolo. They abandoned the run. They had no running game. Kansas City played a tougher, more physical defense. They put a spy on Lamar. They sent some pressure. Look at this with Baltimore. They rushed it 16 times for 81 yards in the game. Take out Lamar Jackson, who normally only runs under duress when the pocket breaks down. I always do that with Mahomes too. The leading rusher was Gus Edwards for 20 yards. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. They abandoned the run. Kansas City made them abandon the run. Lamar Jackson, 20 of 37, 272, a touchdown, an interception. Sacked 4 times inside the pocket, outside the pocket. They lose that game 17-10. What a blown opportunity for Baltimore. For those who don't want Kansas City here at the Super Bowl, which would include me, I'm right at the top of the list. The reason why Kansas City is here is twofold. They beat the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park, New York, and they beat the Baltimore Ravens in downtown Baltimore. Did you hear what I just said? They went to 2 of the roughest spots, loudest spots you can play, not in a dome, right? There's domes all over this country. They got to play those games outside. They win those games, and they get rewarded with the trip to Allegiant Stadium in a dome in Vegas because Baltimore couldn't put them away. I'm very critical of John Harbaugh in this game. I think he's a very good coach. If he would have won this Super Bowl, which I think they would have been the favorite if he won that game, he'd have 2 Super Bowl victories. He'd be in the Hall of Fame. That's how close you are. 2 Super Bowls, eventually they're going to get to you, and you're going to get into the Hall of Fame. Jimmy Johnson, Tom Coughlin, get ready for him. Marv Levy's got no Super Bowls, none, and he's in the Hall of Fame. If John Harbaugh got 2, he'd get in. It took Tom Flores till he was in his early 80s to get in. That's what was on the line for John Harbaugh. And I thought he coached a terrible game. The body language of Lamar Jackson sucked. I would have told Lamar Jackson to take that coat off, take that wool cap with the pom-pom off, get on the bicycle and run in place and get your head in the game because his body language absolutely sucked. Travis Kelce had one of the best games I've ever seen, ever. And that includes only with the greats who have ever played tight end in a Super Bowl. Go roughly with the Hall of Famers. Go to the legends, Mike Ditka. Go to the legends, Dave Casper, Kellen Winslow, who didn't play in a Super Bowl but played in big games. Go through all the greatest tight ends of all time, and we get to Gronk and Kelce. Gronk's had some monster games in the AFC Championship game with Brady. Monster games. I thought Kelce's game was as good as any game Gronk ever played. Wait till you hear this stat. It's remarkable. I don't hear enough people talking about it on the radio. Rob Gronkowski in that game dominated so early. Travis Kelce, in this game, 11 targets, 11 receptions. Are you fucking kidding me? 11 targets, 11 receptions for 116 and a touchdown. You're telling me these targets weren't getting knocked down? These targets weren't tipping off his hands? Those targets weren't broken up? No. One of the great games ever played by Kelce. Kansas City didn't dominate. They got shut out in the second half of the game. An absolute shutout. And they ended up going to the AFC Championship game. Benny Jett, it would have been wild if we had Detroit there. I agree with you. A lot of people are saying, Carol, Benny Jett, sorry about your Lions. Robert says, why are the Raiders taking so long to pick an offensive coordinator? I got one better for you. Why did the Seahawks and the Commanders take this long to address a head coach? There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of choices. Let them take all the time they wanted. And a lot of people were waiting for the offensive coordinator of the Lions, Ben Johnson, to become a head coach. And a lot of people were being patient. And also Kubiak on the 49ers is available. And everybody was waiting for him to get to this level. So here we go. Lamar Jackson in that game on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, Lamar played at a 4. And that's being generous. Probably a 3. You got to be kidding me. Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh lost that game. I think Zay Flowers had 5 receptions for 115 yards and a touchdown, but gave another touchdown back. And how do you only give Nelson Aguilar 3 targets, 1 reception, 39 yards? He's a really good player. I'm surprised they didn't get him into the game more. I thought he's a really good player. He would have been great. He would have been absolutely great. Lamar Jackson's body language sucked. And that's a problem going forward, because if you put him in his home stadium and the franchise for the first time in 1971, since 1971, and he's got bad body language, how much longer are we going to have to wait for that again? We had to wait from 2024. It started in 1971. Lamar should have been looking like Ray Lewis. I mean, didn't Ray Lewis come out of the tunnel and do a squirrel and his little dance, and Lamar still didn't look good? Shocking. Shocking. Congratulations to Kansas City. You know, I don't like the Chiefs, but I respect the hell out of them. It's an incredible gauntlet that they ran through. When you tell the story of the Chiefs, if they end up winning the Super Bowl, which I hope they don't, you'll look back when they put out that DVD, which they don't do DVDs anymore, but they put out that live stream, or you get your hat, your T-shirt, and you get your live stream now, or a DVD. The story is going to say that Kansas City, if they win, beat the Dolphins, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Niners to win the Super Bowl. And win 3 Super Bowls and have a dynasty. Because the dynasty would be 3 out of 5. That's a dynasty. That's kind of the max you can get for a dynasty. Not 3 out of 6, 3 out of 9. No, it's got to be 3 in a row, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5. You're a dynasty. So remember that. And Miami was decimated by injuries. Well, how many players did Miami miss? Miami missed, about 8 or 9 players down the stretch? 8 or 9. It's a lot. So that win wasn't difficult because Miami couldn't play in the cold, 4th coldest game ever. But a good roster, good story. Beating Josh Allen in Buffalo, beating Lamar Jackson, the MVP in Baltimore. What the hell's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs? Are these guys ever going to lose? We set up a brick wall. We set up a gauntlet for them to try to get through. They were left for dead. And now I got Travis Kelce hugging Taylor Swift on the field, not in the Super Bowl, on the field in Baltimore, where every camera is there looking at Taylor Swift and Kelce. What do you think it's going to look like in Vegas with a nightclub right behind him in the first ever Super Bowl? Oh, my God, please stop the Chiefs. Please. I thought it was set up to stop them. Lions and the Niners, if you didn't hear me talk about this on this platform or over the last couple of days, Dan Campbell lost the game. He did. People will say his players did. It was injustice in coaching. I thought he was outcoached. I know he was outcoached because he had a 24-7 lead and blew the game and borderline choked it. So he got outcoached. A 4-year-old could tell you he got outcoached. He didn't go for an earlier field goal that would have put him up 3 scores. We're not talking about going up 2 scores. We're talking about going up 3. And then he had an opportunity to kick another field goal to tie the game where they had no momentum. They weren't playing well. They weren't getting the breaks. Goff was playing okay at that time, but they weren't getting the breaks and explosive like they did in the first half. They don't kick the field goal, game's over. Brock Purdy gets the ball, starts running for his life, completing passes, running again for first downs, and the Lions lose the game. And look, I mean, for San Francisco down 24-7, did you think they were going to take a kneel down at the end of the game? They were able to do that. Incredible. Got to give the Niners credit. I thought they were outplayed by Green Bay. Check. And I thought they were outplayed, definitely outplayed by Detroit for a half, easily a half. And it could have been the whole game. But Detroit cracked under the pressure. Let's all be adults. They folded under the pressure. The Motor City, Detroit lunch bucket team folded in Santa Clara as soon as the rock band Journey came out and played Don't Stop Believin' at halftime, and Detroit must have had it pumped into their locker room on the road, and they just collapsed. If Dan Campbell, what would have happened if Sean McDermott got to the championship game? The scrutiny he's been under. Would he last? Would he survive? Probably, because he got to the championship game. And by no means am I saying that you got to fire Dan Campbell. No. But whatever Dan Campbell had, and I didn't talk to Benny about this from Detroit, but I talked about a couple other people. Fabian says Flowers' penalties were killer for the Ravens. You're right. I crushed Flowers all week. Lions Ben Johnson announced he's staying. Good move. It's a great move. But one other point I want to say about this. I also had a problem with the body language of Jared Goff. Under 6 minutes ago, they showed him on the bench with the baseball cap on. Go back and look at it. Baseball cap on, just watching the Videotron, just looking up at the Jumbotron. Are you kidding me? Jared Goff looking like he was taking a break at a baseball game in between innings as a bullpen pitcher who hasn't got into the game. Just sitting back like this. Jared Goff, Lions hat on, just looking. I'm screaming at the TV, get your ass off the bench. Bring your coach to the sideline. Let Dan Campbell see you. And let's get rolling. Show some energy, Jared Goff. God, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he had that game. He would have won in the Bay Area where he's from. It would have been not this. He played in the Super Bowl with the Rams, but this would have been bigger, yes, because he would have got to the Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions. That's bigger than him getting there with the Rams initially. Sorry, Ram fans, getting there with Detroit, and Detroit's never played in a Super Bowl. Goff, 25 of 41, 273, a touchdown, no interceptions. One touchdown. One in the NFC Championship game. Look, I'm not asking for 5. I'm not asking for 4, but I need more than a touchdown out of Jared Goff. When you got the receivers that they have, like Laporta, St. Brown, Williams, Montgomery out of the backfield, Gibbs. Come on, Jared Goff. You were right there. You had the Niners left for dead. Incredible there. So we got the Niners versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get into the gambling aspect of this. God, put a couple of names in our chat about all these so-called professional handicappers. Or does any of these guys get the games right, or girls? I had a bunch of gamblers I was watching the game with on Sunday. They got parlay bets. They got totals. They're all losing. I mean, I know there's winners out there, but how many people lose betting football? All the guys I were with were really sharp guys. One guy was a part of a contest and won a title here in Vegas in one of those super contests, and he got slaughtered. I don't know how many people can go on social media and go anywhere and say, look at me, I'm winning. I'm winning all these games. You got to be kidding me. I mean, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the gambling community here in Vegas. I'd love to know the ones that aren't struggling and who are winning. I'm sure there's a few. I don't know many of them. San Francisco, Kansas City. Its line opened up San Francisco -2. It moved early on. Now it's back to San Francisco -2. So San Francisco's a 2-point favorite. Do you think Kansas City is going to lose by 1 point? You think they're going to lose by 2? No. You get an opportunity to bet Kansas City on the money line. Currently, as we record this video, this live stream, as we're sitting here, it's 6:28 on Tuesday, the 30th. Money line for Kansas City. There's not a lot of juice in it. It's Kansas City plus 110 at the Superbook. You know, can't bet 100, win 110. It's not juicy. What Kansas City's money line was in Baltimore, that was juicy. That's a good way to make some money. So Kansas City, you get an opportunity to bet Patrick Mahomes getting money, getting points. I don't know how you don't sprinkle a little bit right there. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you say. Yes, when you look at that number, don't you put a little bit of money down on Mahomes to win the Super Bowl? Getting 2 points? I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm rooting against him. I'm rooting against Kansas City. But unless you're some geeky sharp who thinks you know every pick blindfolded, aren't you going to throw a little bit of money on Mahomes? part of your bankroll. You're not going to just have one bet. Right? You're going to have prop bets. You're going to have a couple other bets, all these cool prop bets. Shout out to Jeff Sherman over at the Westgate. I'll give him a follow if you're in this room. I'd appreciate it. At Golf Odds on Twitter. Great handicapper. I had him on my show today. And it's real. Kansas City fans are going to bet the money line to try to pay for their trip. Kansas City fans are going to get into Vegas. They're going to pound the money line for Kansas City. I don't know if the line's going to move to San Francisco -3. I think it would come down with Brock Purdy versus Patrick Mahomes. And Purdy played well. I give him his flowers for the way he ran the football. Still comes down to Kansas City getting points. And Kyle Shanahan's a very good coach. Very good coach. But Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl, good luck beating them. Good luck. I hope San Francisco, I don't hope. I expect San Francisco to do me a favor and beat the Chiefs. I'm not saying I'm hoping San Francisco wins because someone might cut this up and say, JT wants San Francisco to win. No, I don't. I just like San Francisco to do the world a favor and stop Taylor Swift, Brittany Mahomes, Mama Kelce, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, all the television networks, all the television advertisers who are now all in on Kansas City. If you watched us here over the last couple of months, I've stated I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I take that really personal, especially the wackadoos who do that when it comes to 9/11 or politics, spacecraft, aliens. I don't like any type of conspiracy theory. I'm not that guy. Like that idiot Alex Jones or whoever it is out there, the lunatic fringe. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I read the Warren Commission. Raise your hand and beep your horn if you read the Warren Commission on who killed Kennedy. Kennedy died and was assassinated the day before my birthday, a couple of years before that. So I grew up always watching, fascinated by the Kennedy assassination. That's a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory. I think the gunman behind the picket fence took the fatal shot, not Oswald, who did take a shot and connected up in the book depository. But I believe in the badge man and what happened on the grassy knoll. But I just told you, there's no conspiracy theory with the NFL, but it's awful confusing to see how the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs are aligned on the same page with television advertisers and what they're doing to get all this attention. It's the perfect storm. It's like a hurricane before it hits ground. It's the perfect storm, and then it explodes. And that's what's happening with the Chiefs. The Taylor Swift effect again is she's bringing millions upon millions of fans to the Kansas City Chiefs, not the NFL. The NFL, yes, but all to the Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor Swift isn't bringing fans to the Browns, the Titans. She sings a lot in Nashville. Imagine if she was a Titan fan. She's not bringing anything to the Jaguars or the Dolphins or the Raiders. Raiders, we have our own celebrity singers, and we got icons in the history of music that love the Raiders. All of them combined are not even remotely close to Taylor Swift in 2024 heading into the Super Bowl. So she will help. It's a real number. Make the ratings go up. Ratings go up. More eyeballs on Kansas City. More money for the NFL on merchandise, ratings. And the advertisers want her there. Because if you got a Super Bowl ad on Super Bowl Sunday, no matter what it is, it's going to be seen by more people because it's in Vegas and Taylor Swift's in the building because not thousands, millions of people who normally don't watch football. And that's really the definition of the Super Bowl. You get more and more people. You get 115 people, 115 million in the room, and maybe 15 to 18 or 20 never watch football or don't watch it at all or consistently. They watch on Super Bowl Sunday. 283 said, imagine Taylor Swift as an Eagles fan. No, I can't. That would have broke the internet. That would break the internet. Benny Jet, hashtag Modelo. I think that is a good time for a sip. So I don't want to do most of these, the live streams. I don't want to do recaps of games. You know, Josh Allen lost. Lamar Jackson lost. We know that already. That happened days ago. I typically want to work towards the future. I want to be able to react to games live. So my son suggested, and what do you think of this idea? Is that, we'll just put up a YouTube live stream during a game. During a game while it's live, we'll watch it together. We'll have it around the background and we'll do that. I think that's a good format for me. I love to do that. More of my radio shows now I'm streaming on YouTube, especially every day, noon to 2, 3 to 5 Eastern on Raider Nation Radio. It clicks up right here. We did that today. We had a nice turnout. So we're trying to experiment with a few more things as we get going. And I'm excited about what this platform brings. I'd said I'd do 30 minutes. We're at 30. It'll go a little bit longer here. If you want to get into the chat, before we do that, please subscribe. We got new people here that have to subscribe. I can see if you subscribe or not. Please do, so you get the alerts on what we're doing here. What do we see here from the 283 again? JT, you're not the first one saying that. Steve Zabin has mentioned it. The Zab. Love Steve Zabin. We go back a long time. I mean, we roughly started around the same time, 27 to 30 years ago on sports radio. So tell the Zab I said hi. And again, I'm not doing this Taylor Swift bit for bits. It's not a bit. It's fact. It's fact. If you're not a Chief fan, if you're not into the Chiefs and you're a football fan, you're either rooting against the Chiefs or you're a Taylor Swift fan. And for everyone like myself who's rooting against Kansas City, I'm getting beaten down like in a video game. I'm getting shot up on a video game by all the other new fans that are coming into the room because of a pop star. I'm thinking we're gonna do a couple more of these before the Super Bowl, but you have to admit I'm right. You have to admit it looks really weird. You've been watching football. Go back and raise your hand if you go back to Howard Cosell. If you go back to the 70s, I'm not talking 60s, 50s, 40s. Let's just say in the 70s, we had a guy named Howard Cosell. Now we have Tony Romo as an analyst. I'll get to Tom Brady in a minute. Never in NFL history, never have they had a musician, pop star, social influencer, not social media, because social media just came about recently. The NFL has never had someone as big as Taylor Swift right now. Not the Beatles in the 60s, not Elvis in the 50s. Elvis wasn't going to every NFL game and being on the sideline and being in a box, all right? That wasn't happening. Muhammad Ali, maybe the most influential athlete of our lifetime. Don't remember him going to a lot of NFL games. Nothing I've ever seen like this. And it's had an effect on everything, but most importantly, it's helped the brand of the Kansas City Chiefs to a point that should be very alarming to everyone who's not a Kansas City fan. I will say that. Robert says, Paul Gunther says hello. Please say hello to him. Another great football coach, his entire career at several stops. And, coaches get hired and fired and they move their families from one city to the next. A guy like Paul Gunther is a football coach and a really good man. I want to wrap this up with Tom Brady today. Tom Brady went on a couple of national radio shows, TV shows. Pretty impressed. Tom Brady wants to be a broadcaster. We know he has a podcast, which is pretty good. It's on that SiriusX platform that I'm on. If you get that SiriusXM app, it comes with it. But Brady talked a lot today on competing networks and on Fox that he's really studying to be a great broadcaster. I was impressed by that. Now, Brady just had a business merge today. So he merged with a huge business. I'm not going to plug his business because he's not paying for the podcast. And Brady doesn't need the plug. But Tom Brady went out today talking about a new business venture and partnership he has. And then the next thing you know, he's talking about being a Fox broadcaster and how excited he is. He's pretty good. He's good on his podcast. He's getting a lot of reps in now. So I think we're going to see more of Tom Brady coming up here as a broadcaster. It seems like today he wanted to go out there and get some reps going, and he was able to do that. All right. What's going on here? Anything else on the chat that I'm missing? Anything else new on the chat you want to throw in there? A lot of people. I know there's a lot of Niner fans, some Bay Area fans that are here. JT, you got to hang out with Kelly in Vegas. I've known Kelly for years. Give her my best. She is a hard worker and works really hard at her craft. You see, JT, where does Greg Olson go? He goes to the number 2 crew at Fox. And then if Tom Brady's a billionaire, which he's on pace to be in 2 years, he'll leave and walk away from his contract and give the job back to Greg Olson. It's hard to do what these guys do. It's hard to call a game. I called 4 games this preseason on radio for the Raiders as our play-by-play voice, Jason Horowitz, who's really good, went into the TV booth, and I prepared on radio, and radio is much harder than TV. I mean, TV, you don't even have to say anything. Say handoff up the middle. You don't have to describe it on radio. You got to describe the play, motion, who's moving around, what's coming off the edge, all of that. And when these athletes get in the booth, some of them are a disaster, not many. Other ones become really good really fast. Look at Tony Romo. From all the Romo critics, he's fantastic. He set the bar for financial success. He's the guy who moved the bar the way John Madden did as a coach analyst. Romo did it as a quarterback. All due respect to the other analysts. They didn't change the marketplace to the price it is now that Tom Brady could make money. And I think the smartest guy of all this is Peyton Manning. I really do, because Peyton Manning doesn't want to leave his family every week and call games on the radio. I heard Kurt Warner the other day in the car. I think his kids are older. He's been married to his wife for a long time. Kurt Warner on the radio is fantastic. Fantastic on the Westwood One feed. And he also works for NFL Network, and he travels and does games. Peyton Manning's able to sit in his house and do the Manning cast without traveling. Some guys don't want to travel week to week, because if you got a game on Sunday, you got to get on an airplane at least by Friday. Chris Collinsworth is great at it. I've seen him here in Vegas. When Chris Collinsworth has a game, which is Sunday Night Football, he's on the ground in that city going to practice, obviously having meetings, and he's fantastic too. I think all these guys are great. There's not many that I criticize. Joe Buck is a flat-out Hall of Famer, World Series in football. Jim Nantz, the gold standard. Al Michaels, maybe the GOAT. But today, Tom Brady proved to me that he's going to be a broadcaster who takes his job super seriously. He takes everything seriously, but he just got divorced, just got out of a long-term relationship, is merging businesses, went to the Michigan National Championship games, got a lot going on. And it sounds like from what we heard from earlier today, he is in the bunker learning how to be a broadcaster on TV. So we'll see how that works out going forward here. You know, when people say Collinsworth isn't good, I just laugh, and I find that borderline ridiculous. Collinsworth is on the number 1 team in all of television. All of television is football. Television, what, a 93 out of 100 of their 93 out of the top 100 TV shows were football games, and the majority of them were Sunday Night Football that had the highest ratings. You don't get that job if you're not Collinsworth. You don't get that job and keep that job if you aren't great. They replace you every year. He's not getting replaced. Any other quick sports topics or other topics that you want to hit on? This is a fun thing I want to do in the chat. Everything goes. Anything you want to ask me, final 5 minutes, we call it speed chat. I used to do speed brick. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Clock is started. Anything you want to ask me, unless it's super personal with my family. But anything else, I'll try to speed brick and get it up here. CG, you think the Raiders trade up in the draft for a quarterback? Yeah, I hope they do. I mean, Tom Telesco, I don't know well. He comes in highly experienced in the ability. I think Tom Telesco came in to clean up this Raider roster quickly, and make an explosive move and get them to the playoffs. So I'm not going to make any predictions that I'm saying I guarantee it, but I hope that happens because I think the Raiders need to trade up. Who cares says, do you miss the black hole? No, you see behind me there? There it is. See that? That's a plaque from being in the black hole. I'm in the black hole. We missed the black hole in Oakland. Absolutely. Carol, the NCAA men's bracket, any thoughts? None. Watched a good game the other night between Houston and Texas. My son went to Oklahoma, so I watch Oklahoma games and Big 12 games. College basketball doesn't have much of an allure for me until March Madness. It really doesn't. I'm living in Vegas. UNLV is an average team. I root for Kevin Kruger. But You can't tell me Kentucky basketball now matters as much as it did 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. It doesn't move the needle until March Madness. Raider Romeo. JT, do you ever tell Mark Davis and the coaches your 2 cents personally on what we might need to succeed? No, not to, if they ask me, I do. Mark Davis has asked me many questions. He's been a friend of mine long before he was the owner. He'll ask me questions. We'll talk on the phone. I'll see him not often, but I see him a bunch. And we try not to talk football. We actually talk music. Mark Davis has been to a ton of concerts. We've watched concert videos together more so. And when he asks something about football in the past or something that's important, I give him my honest answer. I love the guy. Guy's done a lot for me and my family. If Mark Davis did not own the Raiders, my life wouldn't be as good as it is. So, a lot of the stuff I talk about with Mark. The coaches, Antonio Pierce, I just got to know him. I did his interviews, and he was excited, I think, to sit down with me, and I was thrilled, but we didn't get personal about picks or who should play or not. That's none of my business. He's the coach. Scott says, will Belichick ever coach again? Of course he will. He's got to catch Don Shula. What a humbling experience for Belichick. Humbling. The fact that he can't get a job, the fact that people thought this Detroit offensive coordinator who turned down head coaching jobs were more relevant than Bill Belichick. I'm losing my mind on that. I'm losing my mind that we're doing this garbage and we're looking at names. Seattle doesn't have a coach and the Commanders don't. I could see not giving Belichick the Charger job because you want Jim Harbaugh. But Mike Vrabel doesn't have a job. Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. Crazy. Let's see what else we have here. Who's the most disappointing team right now in the NBA? Not my Knicks. Hey, how about my Knicks? I got some Knicks memorabilia up here, man. My Knicks are playing great. The Heat are hitting a wall, but they're so well coached, they'll come out of it. And I think the Heat are going to be able to go out and make a couple of changes and add a player at the trade deadline. They're not done yet. And let's see here. Don't forget Pete Carroll, too. JT, thoughts on the best OC? I've always liked Alex Van Pelt. I've always liked him. I think he's a really good, sharp, veteran OC. I also like Cliff Kingsbury because he was a former head coach and called plays for Kyler Murray and unbelievable players in his life. So I think he's really good. I'll take one or more 2 questions. What's better, gold or silver bricks? For investing, I always think gold's a better investment than silver. Even when silver's up and gold is down, gold is great to have in your portfolio. I have a little bit of gold. As a former stockbroker, always had gold in my stock portfolio because it was always a hedge. Never really needed the hedge. Never freaked out about the hedge, but it was always good to have gold there. And, Robert says ribeye or T-bone. What a great way to end this. I had a couple of steaks the past week at 2 different restaurants. I will say ribeye. If the ribeye is cooked correctly, nothing better. I'll leave you on this. The server, we went to a steakhouse the other day, and then we went to another steakhouse. So I went to one steakhouse where I was paying the bill. Man, it was a big bill, but worth it. You ever pick up one of those bills in a steakhouse and you go, ooh, that hurts. Yeah, that was a big one. And then I was a guest and I ordered a steak. And I normally don't order 2 restaurant steaks a week, but I was at some good steakhouses. Always ask the server. When he says, sir, how would you like your steak cooked? And I always say it with me, however the chef recommends it. It cuts down all the bullshit talking. You shouldn't be talking at a restaurant when the server's there. The server comes working their ass off, male or female, to get your order into the kitchen so you can get back to your great experience with your friends and family, your colleagues. When the server comes to take your order, that's not where you ask questions. You can ask questions early when the server is giving you bread or bringing a cocktail and say, hey, by the way, is there a special you really like tonight? He or she might go, yeah, I love the scallops, or I like the T-bone, or whatever. But then when they come around for the order, I lose my fucking mind when people then start asking questions, reading the menu. Oh, what's this like? What's that like? And they take all the energy at dinner, all the energy, and they destroy it. And now everybody who doesn't want to hear, I don't want to hear what you're eating. I'm not interested in your food. I don't care what you order. So I don't want to hear you quiz the server on how the steak's prepared or how the pasta's prepared. If you've been to a restaurant, you know what you want before you go in. 98% of the time, if I go to an Italian restaurant, I'm ordering a chicken parm. If I go to a seafood steakhouse, I get a little of both. But I'm leaving you on this note, and my son's here too, so it'll be a great lesson in life. Stop making the servers work in a restaurant. Stop acting entitled like you have a stage to talk. No. Be polite. Tell them what you'd like. Keep it short and say thank you. And I say thank you. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. We had a big week, didn't we, so far? Yes, sir. Yeah. My son's giving me some of the analytics of this. And he says we did really well. And my son's big takeaway is when we do these live streams during the day on the radio show, the numbers kind of really bounce and go big. And then when we do this, we get some new audience, which we really appreciate. So today, I did a podcast today, I did a radio show today, and I did this live stream. That's a good day. Once again, thanks to Modelo, the #1 beer in America. I got one of my best friends of my entire life in the other room. He's out visiting and working here for the week. So I'm going to finish my Modelo, have a little dinner, not supper, dinner, and then be on the radio tomorrow, noon to 2 Pacific, 3 to 5, right here on the YouTube stream. Have a great night, everybody. I really